So let's start by just talking, if we can, guys, about maybe you can give our friends an idea. Eileen, start with you with just tell us about the size and the scope of the operation that you discovered.
Well, it's a single domestic local police department, the NYPD, which is bigger than all other police departments in the country, and the FBI. But after 9/11, they decided...
But wait, bigger than the FBI?
Yeah.
About twice the size of the FBI.
Yes.
Yeah, just wanted to get that out there.
And after 9/11, they decided to take things into their own hands and protect the city. And so they slowly built this intelligence program with the help of a former CIA official and a current CIA official. And it has evolved into the largest, most sophisticated intelligence gathering operation in the U.S.
When did it start, Matt?
So, as Eileen alluded to, shortly after 9/11, the newly hired deputy director for intelligence at the NYPD, a man by the name of David Cohen, who for many years was our nation's top spy at the CIA. So he's now at the NYPD. He's just been hired after 9/11, and one of the first things he does is he calls back to Langley and says to George Tenet, "I need you to send me somebody to come up here to New York and help us out." So the CIA, which is prohibited from doing domestic spying, already has a station in New York that has very specific rules and regulations. The CIA decided that they were going to send up a man named Larry Sanchez, who's a longtime CIA veteran, and Larry is going to go up to the NYPD on CIA payroll. He has an office at the CIA station. He has an office at the NYPD. And he becomes the architect of the NYPD's clandestine intelligence gathering programs while on CIA payroll. This whole arrangement was never sort of signed off on by lawyers. There's no memorandum of understanding of here's what the rules are, here's what not to do. They were just sort of doing this on the fly after 9/11. And one of the things that became the kind of the cornerstone of what the NYPD did was they created something called the demographics unit.
You're getting a little ahead of the story.
I'm getting ahead. Sure.
I just want to ask one other question.
Sure.
So this is, to get the facts out, this is the NYPD, New York Police Department. So obviously, Eileen, they're only conducting these intelligence operations within the boundaries of New York City, right?
No.
Yes. Where?
They have eventually posted officers overseas in different countries, and they also have been gathering intelligence up and down the East Coast and feel that they can collect intelligence anywhere.
So it's, as I recall, reading your series, New York State, Connecticut, New Jersey,
Washington State, New Orleans, Florida, California, 11 countries worldwide. They say that when they go to collect intelligence, they're not functioning as a police officer, so they don't need jurisdiction. They're just going to collect intelligence.
They're not making arrests. They're not doing anything like that, which you need jurisdiction to do. They're just watching and recording.
And how many are in this unit?
300 plus or minus.
And with a budget of about?
Well, it's a
secret budget.
Well, let's start there. The whole operation is secret, right? It's never been reported on before your articles, correct?
I think they had a $30 million budget, which is a relatively small piece of the $4 billion NYPD budget. But we also don't know how much money from the federal government is going there because of the $2 billion the Department of Homeland Security has given the NYPD since 9/11. The Department of Homeland Security doesn't actually know where that money goes. And of how much money from the White House? $1.6 million from the White House to the NYPD to pay for the equipment that does this. They say we don't really know where it goes. We don't have any oversight over where it goes. So tracking the money is kind of hard because nobody really knows where this money's going.
And the unit is also funded by the Police Foundation, which isn't subject to public scrutiny.
Right. All of the overseas, they have an entire overseas operation that's all funded from the New York Police Department Foundation, which is a not-for-profit funded primarily by major New York corporations, Wall Street banks, and all of that money finances the overseas operation and buys equipment. And so none of that money gets disclosed even to the city council. They don't know where that money comes from.
So let's talk about what their so we know with this unit, as Matt mentioned, demographics unit is what it was called, and they're out in the community and in all these various states. Eileen, what are, who are their targets, who are they looking at, and where are they going?
Well, they're just looking at geographic areas that all happen to be lived and worked in by Muslims, and they are collecting pretty innocuous details on their daily lives, where they eat, where they pray, where they get their hair cut, what they're looking at, what they're talking about. It's, some of the reports read like a poorly written book report. Others look like food reviews. It's just very basic stuff that you just take for granted that you do every day.
So what they have, the demographics unit has this squad of about 16 guys, typically in their 20s and 30s, typically of Middle Eastern or South Asian descent.
Undercover.
And their job is to just hang out. So they just go to a Muslim neighborhood. Right? They look on the census, they look where people of certain ethnicities are, and they go there and they visit every restaurant multiple times, they visit every cafe, barber shop, and they just eavesdrop. And then they maybe try to chat up the restaurant owner or the guy behind the desk, and they make a note if you're watching Al Jazeera, and they try to gauge the sentiment of the community. So is anybody saying anything here? Is anybody critical of the United States? If so, you put it in there, and then now you're under investigation. Now you're going to have an informant put on you. You'll go into police files. So all of this stuff is going into a police file. The idea being that if there's ever a tip, we've got intelligence about a Moroccan terrorist in New York City, they can just pull the Moroccan demographics report off, and they know everywhere Moroccans eat, sleep, shop, work, pray. And, they've pulled all of the phone numbers for rooms for rent, so they know who's renting rooms to Moroccans in Moroccan neighborhoods. All of those go into databases so they can run them against, if a phone number gets picked up on a wiretap, a phone number, whatever, they can run it against their databases and know who's where.